Okay, so anyways, we're going to go ahead and get started with this. We are going to record it, so you guys will get a recording of the webinar after we're all done. For any of you guys who tried to join the webinar last week and now you're on it this week, sorry for the technical problems, but I'm glad you were able to make it back this week. So, our intentions for doing this is, I've had a lot of people I've come across over the last really 12 to 18 months who run a holiday lighting business. And there's a lot of people making good money from it. And I also hear a ton of painters complain about the slow winter, it's hard to keep your guys busy, and then you lose your guys, then you got to rehire, or you just want to take care of your guys, and you want to keep money coming in. And so I've just talked to so many people over the last 18 months. I was really excited to talk to Kevin and find out that he's actually putting together a program and a course to teach people how to do this, because I'm not doing it. It's not the right fit for our business. I like my off season, and it works for us, but I think there's probably more people that would like to add an extra revenue stream to their business than people like me who aren't. And frankly, we probably will eventually add this, or at least some of our partners will. So anyway, so I was excited to come across Kevin, knowing, he's been really engaged with all my Painting Business Pro stuff for the last couple of years. His painting business has grown a ton. He actually had one of his head sales manager who was on all our sales coaching calls this past year. So he's been, really following along the Painting Business Pro stuff for about 2 to 3 years now, and has participated in literally every live program I've done. And he does a really good job implementing and doing things by the book and doing them right. So I'm excited that he's got this course put together, because I know he's done really well with lights and brought in a lot of extra cash relatively easily. And so I was excited to put this webinar together. So I just wanted to introduce you guys to holiday lighting, how it works, how you can add it in, how much money you can actually make, so you can determine if it's something you want to add into your business or not. If it is something you want to add into your business, we'll kind of run through some basic things that you can do now. And then obviously if you want to follow really exactly how Kevin's got it laid out, he's got a program that we'll talk about a little bit too. And, just given our past experience, he's going to be working really closely with anybody from Painting Business Pro who wants to implement this with weekly webinars and stuff like that, which isn't something he normally does. So we'll get to that though. The main purpose of this webinar is just to show you guys the business, how it works, what the opportunity is, and for you to see if it's going to be right for you. If you guys have any questions that come up throughout the webinar, you just pop them in the chat. I'm going to be kind of monitoring the chat, helping Kevin answer questions. He's got this PowerPoint put together with a bunch of slides and stuff to walk you guys through. I'm going to be interrupting here and there, just asking questions and getting clarification to really help facilitate the whole webinar. But if there's something that comes up for you guys, please don't hesitate to jump in and comment or ask questions, and we'll make sure we get to everybody. We've also left time at the end of the webinar. We should finish this by about an hour in. Is when we expect to wrap this up, maybe an hour and 10 minutes. Then we've got about 10 or 15 minutes set aside just for question and answer at the end. So I guess having said that, I want to pass it off to Kevin, and just want to welcome him and let you kind of take it away, Kevin. Then I'll just be interrupting and asking questions as we go.
All right. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. And very well put. So the purpose of today's webinar is to just give you guys a basic idea of not only what this holiday lighting business has done for me personally, but also to show you how easy it is to do it. We put it together in 3 really simple steps that I think you guys will appreciate, especially being painting business owners or about to start your own painting businesses. I've heard from a few of you. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. What we're going to cover in the next hour, we're going to cover a little bit of my background. Eric explained it pretty well, but I'll jump into a little bit more depth so you guys can get a full understanding of where I started and where I'm at right now and where I'm going. Again, we're going to cover the holiday lighting business in 3 easy steps. We're going to show you guys also what an achievable goal you could expect to hit this season if you were to implement these simple steps into your business. And we've set that relatively low, I would say, something that you can definitely deliver upon if you implement these simple steps. And then I think that we'll kind of give you a few questions and take a few minutes so you guys can actually sit back and think if this is something that is actually a good fit for your company. Eric and his business and everything that he's got going on, As he mentioned, they kind of enjoy their winters off. For me, I don't really have that luxury. I have a pretty big family, and I don't have the financial luxury or even the luxury for the people that work with me to take the winter off. And it's helped me to do a lot of things in my business that I don't feel I could have done without holiday lighting. So, and then at the end, as Eric mentioned, we'll answer some questions. Anything that comes up, just fire into the chat window as we're going, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. So this right here is actually a picture of my first business card, and I keep it up in my office. I'm coming to you guys live from my office today. I have a home office, and I keep this actually posted up in my office as a reminder to myself of where I started 7 years ago. So I started out my business, the business card you're looking at, window washing and power washing and cleaning services, and I was the owner operator, and I did everything. I started by myself, buying my first set of tools, to doing my first job, to figuring out everything on my own. And about 5 years into my business, I had gone through a lot of different phases where I had added a whole bunch of services on and taken some off, and then I had finally got to the point where I figured out that painting was my most profitable service, and then I actually found Eric about 2 years ago. And he's really helped me from where I was 2 years ago to now to implement some really great systems. As if you guys haven't found out yet, you're about to find out if you become a member of Painting Business Pro. Highly recommend it. It's changed my life. So that's a little bit of my background as far as at least from the time I started in business to now. And that's just a little bit about what I wanted to cover with my business anyway. Other than prior to me going to business for myself, other than my business, a few other things that I wanted to cover about myself and why you should actually trust me to teach you and trust the things that I'm telling you today. I was in construction from the time, I was like pretty much 15 years old. I've never done anything else. I've had so many different jobs in construction. I think that's why I actually landed in business for myself, because really I always liked doing the work in the field, but I never felt quite at home or quite right with what I was doing. I always wanted to go out and venture off onto my own. I had a variety. I actually had to compose like a resume for you guys today here, like a little list, because I've had so many different experiences in the field. So I've done painting, window washing, power washing, finished carpentry, concrete finishing. I have my Class B license for dump truck driving, which I did that for about, I think, a year and a half for a paving company. I also drove a tractor trailer for a while, so I have a Class A license. So you guys might ask, well, why is he telling me all this stuff? I don't really know if I care that much. And good point. But the reason that I'm telling you guys this stuff is because I actually have experienced for 15 years the construction industry in many different facets. And for me, no matter what you do in construction, in the winter it slows down. And I never had an answer to it before. When I worked for other people, I got laid off and I didn't have money. When I worked for myself, I didn't have any work, and then I had no money. So it's always been a problem for me. And that's what's led me to Christmas lighting and, this webinar today, So I'm also a longtime member, 5 years now, of the IALD and ALA, which are basically lighting organizations, the International Association of Lighting Designers and American Lighting Association. Why you should care about that is that I stay up to date on the most like privy and up to date information in the industry. They give you a lot of most of this stuff has to do with safety when it comes to installing holiday lights, and we'll have some pretty good tips for you guys today. Other than that, I mentioned that I don't have the luxury of taking off in the winter. The number one reason for that is I'm a father of 5. I'm a young guy. I'm 30 years old, but my first daughter was born at the age of 21, and I haven't stopped since. And I'm very happy with my life, but I have a very full life between the 2 businesses that I currently run, CHL team, which is what we're talking about a little bit today, and that's pretty much to give you guys a background on myself, my life, my business, my work ethics. That's it. That's who I am. What the holiday lighting business has personally done for me, my numbers in 2016, I put them together for you guys today. We brought in $52,000 in revenue at 42% profit margin, which is a little bit better actually than we do in our painting business. Our profit margin in our painting business right now is about 36%. So what that equaled for me in 14 weeks, I made another $21,000 in additional income. That might not be what you'll get to your first year. I've done a lot of learning over the last 5 years, and I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've taken notes methodically on each and every single one. I think that another thing that's unique to the part of the country that I live in New Jersey. We have a huge influx of Indian Americans, and they have a holiday called Diwali, which is a really, really big thing around here. So it's almost like we squeeze another 2 or 3 weeks out of our season. So those numbers are my numbers. They're not the numbers that you might expect to hit this year, but we'll talk about like an achievable goal for you guys and what you can expect this year if you implement Christmas lighting into your business. So a couple other key points I didn't want to forget to talk about is that I am really, really dedicated to my reputation, man. If somebody doesn't uphold my name the way that I feel that it should, I'll go do it. And my business partner, Tom, could actually speak as a testament to that today. I was out on a job site before this webinar. It's the last thing that I felt like doing, but I went out there and I did what I had to do because I care about my reputation and I care about anybody that I work with in any aspect of business, because really you don't have anything else other than your word and your reputation. In our painting business that Eric's helped me to grow right now, what our team looks like, I have a sales manager, Tom, the guy that I was just talking about, and the guy that Eric mentioned being on his calls this summer, production manager, and also roughly 8 to 10 painters in our busy season. Right now we have like 5 guys that just finished up the house we were just talking about, and now everybody's going to either transition into holiday lights or be laid off for the winter and find their own work. So that's a little background on myself, and the 3 steps on this next slide here that we're going to cover today, we're going to break down really simple and start moving a little quicker here. So 1, getting clients, how to get your first clients in the holiday lighting business. 2, transitioning the team that you currently have, or even if it's just you as a one-man band right now, it's possible too. So really any size or any stage that you're at in your business, you can transition your team or yourself into holiday lights, because I've done it. 3, pricing and selling professionally. Anybody who's dug into Eric's course a little bit knows a little bit about the Painting Business Pro sales process. And one of the things that Eric talks about in his course is selling professionally, which one of the biggest things with that is just educating yourself on paint, which doesn't take a lot of time, but you need to know it. The same thing with lights. So we'll talk about that a little bit today also. So step 1 is getting your first clients. And at some point, Eric, when we get to Painter Choice, you're going to have to take over here and let me know what you guys are offering. But I think the first one I wanted to talk about is Home Advisor. So when we transition like this time of year from painting into holiday lights, one of the lead services that we use for painting is Home Advisor. And I hear like it's a mixed bag across the country. Here it works for us and it's like our #1 lead service. And then in other areas, I hear that it doesn't work too well. I feel like it's like almost undiscovered little gem when it comes to holiday lighting, because it's really cheap. It's like $10 to $12 per lead, and the people who are competing with you for holiday lighting aren't going to know anything like at all compared to like the systems and information that we're going to give to you today. So if you guys don't have like we're going to send you the webinar afterwards, but for me, I take notes and I remember things better, so I'd recommend that. Pull out like a notepad and a pen and take notes on the things that we're going to cover today. So yeah, Home Advisor, very little competition. The competition that exists doesn't really have a clue. And they offer leads with or without lights provided by you. So what that actually means, to be a little bit more clear, is sometimes, depending how you want to set your service up, you will either purchase lights at the beginning of the season and stockpile them or not, and you can get leads in either direction. So that's like Home Advisor in a nutshell when it comes to holiday lighting. And then a little bit on Painter Choice. I think I'll let Eric take it over for this section, and he can elaborate more here.
Yeah, so oh shoot. Hey, can you mute yourself, Kevin?
Yep, sorry, man.
I'm just getting feedback. Okay, so basically, Painter Choice, for those of you guys don't know, we provide painting leads. So homeowners use our website to request estimates. When they submit their information, we automatically text their information and email their information to the painting contractors we work with. We did provide Christmas lighting leads to a good buddy of mine in Colorado last year, and we just wanted to see if that's something we could do effectively, and we did really well with it. So What we can do for Christmas lighting, for those of you guys who do it, we can basically only offer the service in larger metro areas. If it's too small of an area, it's just not worth doing for us. We're only able to offer in like a bigger metro areas. I got you, Russ. So it's got to be like a bigger city. And then the second thing is it's always going to be exclusive leads. So you're going to be the only person receiving a lead, and it's going to be $15 a lead, I believe. So if you guys decide to pursue this business and you want to get leads beyond just Home Advisor, just contact me directly, and I'll get you in touch with someone from my team who can talk to you about our leads for Christmas lighting.
All right, sounds good, Eric. In our area, would that be like Philadelphia and New York? I think you were saying before, like big cities like that.
Philadelphia would be great.
Okay.
New York would be great. Denver, okay. Chicago, Detroit, San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Houston, Miami.
Gotcha.
Major.
All right. Thank you. All right. So there's a little bit about Painter Choice and what Eric can offer to you guys as far as holiday lighting leads. So the next thing that we want to cover, there's like 6 topics as far as marketing your business that we want to cover. This right here, I'll send you guys this template along with a few other things that this is actually out of the course and out of like the documents that I've put together for holiday lighting. This you'll get as being part of the webinar today. It's like a plug-in form for like door-to-door flyers after you finish your job. So the only thing that I really want to elaborate on here, it's pretty similar to Eric's course. The way that I've used this, that it's been effective for me personally, I don't go out and do door-to-door in random neighborhoods where I haven't worked for holiday lights. I do that with painting and it works, just like Eric talks about in his course. I find myself so busy with holiday lights just through Home Advisor that I often don't need these other avenues to find work, but I have used them and they have worked for me in the past. So with door-to-door flyers, you're going to want to make it a deal with your foreman. Unless you're the only way this part of the conversation won't apply to you guys if you're the one doing the work, and then you're going to be handing out the flyers. But for me, I make it a deal with my foreman as part of the job. I offer him a set rate for the job, and then I make it part of the job that he's going to actually hand deliver 30 flyers to the neighbors after the job's completed, and we hand write the address into our form here, and that's given us a lot more like. It's much more legitimate. You've just done a job in the neighborhood. So that's how door-to-door flyers work for us, and we've gotten a good response when we've done it that way. So the next thing, if you guys don't already have a customer base in your email, I would recommend starting to keep one now, which is basically like stockpiling email addresses of people that you've either given estimates for, gotten leads from, or completed jobs for. We have a customer base of about 1,000 customers. So even when I promote anything, when I'm promoting a webinar today, or if I'm promoting that our business is transitioning into a new service, it's very easy for me to reach out to a large group of people really quickly. So if you don't have a customer base, start to develop one. The only tips that I can give you for that is you'll just want to incentivize your offer. So what I mean by that is you want to give the people a reason to respond. If they respond and they close and they move forward with the job, for holiday lighting with you by a certain date, and give them a discount, something like that. So that's another thing that we've done that's been pretty effective. Facebook promotion. The only thing that I really want to talk about with this is that it's the same as the email promotion, except that you want to consider targeted ads, which are like paid ads through Facebook. This is another thing that's really worked for us because you, even more so than Google AdWords, with Facebook ads, you can get really like nitty gritty with like honing in on the people that you want to speak to and have your ad boosted to. So same as the email, same idea. You want to create an incentive, but Facebook promotion, I would just recommend that you would consider paid ads because they're inexpensive and they're kind of like not real well known yet, at least from all the people that I've talked with and all the people that I frequently talk with about business. So that's pretty much everything for Facebook. Job site branding, same idea here. I don't know, Eric, I think I've seen things in your course before about like who you recommend, if you have recommended vendors. I put the price that we get for Coroplast job signs here, which is we get job signs for like $9.80 per sign if we buy at least 100. We use Fast Signs, which is like a national franchise. And that's like the best price that we've been able to find. More importantly, I think these go hand in hand with the door-to-door flyers. So if you put job signs out, hand out door-to-door flyers, and then people in the neighborhood, like 15 doors this way, 15 doors that way, are able to get your flyer and then see your sign out in the yard, and then they see the lights at nighttime. It's pretty effective, and it's like 2 for 1 almost. Like I wouldn't do one without doing both. Like you need to do both of them, and then you'll probably get a lot of responses. So that's my take on job site branding. When this sign was designed for us, the mindset that you guys should use when you design your sign is that you should be able to get the most important information from it if you were driving by it at 50 miles per hour. Not that that's where, like, how we want to place our signs, but you'll see the guy that designed the sign for us, our website designer, kept that in mind when he was designing it. It's very simple: a phone number, service, and a website. So those are a couple tips when it comes to marketing your holiday lighting business. Step
So,
two.
Kevin, can I pause real fast? There's a couple follow-ups there.
Yeah, sure, man.
So number one, first question is there any marketing that you did last year that you didn't just go through?
No, and usually that is actually my marketing from the past 5 years, because right now, to be honest with you, I have so many referral customers and repeat customers that I really only use Home Advisor, and I keep my whole team busy. So that other stuff is kind of stuff that got me up off the ground and running with it, and now I don't even necessarily need to do that stuff.
So did you, so another question would be, would you say you like maxed out each of those opportunities last year, or is there room for you to do 100,000 or 150,000 in revenue if you just turn the knobs harder on those marketing efforts?
Yeah, there's definitely room for growth. I think that where we maxed out was our capacity to produce. And also, one thing that you run into with holiday lights is that when you get to a certain point in the season, you pretty much max out regardless, because people wait till the last minute to call you or to like submit a request, and they want the work done right away. So I would say that like our production team and our subcontractors is where we maxed out last year.
Okay, great. So it wasn't, because I hear that 52,000 and 20,000 in profit, and I always wonder, I'm like more of a marketing and sales person, so I'm always thinking of like, I'll figure out how to produce it. But marketing and sales like is the number that's going to drive my profits. So
sure, yeah. Well, without a doubt, man, there was definitely room to improve. Marketing wasn't squeezed to its full potential, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, so it sounds like you could do 100,000, but you would actually need to bring on more subcontractors. Which the nice thing about that is there's a million painters who have the equipment who need work in the winter, and if you could bring them on to do lighting for you, you're kind of like finding great subs for painting at the same time. So
yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that. I wanted to know if that, how if you wanted to do more than 50,000, would you need more marketing? And it doesn't sound like you would. Obviously, guys, there's a lot of other testing you could do. I think that's a really good, baseline, with Home Advisor, Painter Choice, former customers, Facebook ads, job site marketing, like all that's a great place to start. But there's so many other things you can do. We didn't touch on is, website and SEO. It's not nearly as competitive as painting. If you want to get ranked high on holiday lighting, I think you could get ranked within 1 year. And I think that, I have a friend of mine who does holiday lighting here in Colorado. He actually wanted to make a course too, Kevin, but he dragged his feet on it. So here we are. But he's gotten 10 times as many call-in leads this year by this point as he did last year at this point. 10 times. And that's all from his website, which he built a year ago. So he's already ranked like number 2. So that's another opportunity. And then obviously direct mail, mailing customers, emailing customers, or even phoning, existing customers. There's a lot of opportunities, I think, for marketing here. One other thing too, that I know a friend of mine does. So I'm just throwing out to you guys all the other possibilities with marketing. But a friend of mine just drops flyers. Like literally they just do massive flyer drops. And they did really, really well with it. And I don't think that'll last forever, but it works well now because there's not that many people dropping flyers in the winter. There's not many other companies dropping Christmas lighting flyers, and it's new. And when things are new, they get a better response. So they've done really well with flyers, really well with the website, and they've also done really well with just ordering 100 lawn signs and putting them all over town. And like literally just putting lawn signs all over the place. So and I could probably come up with 10 other ideas for marketing. So so it's there.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. There's definitely a lot of potential, and
especially with that margin, man. The 42% margin, like holy crap! Like you can have super ineffective marketing and still bank, bank on it. So it's good.
Yeah, without a doubt, man.
So a couple things quick. So we have a question here. So Russ,
Sure.
do you have to register as a whole new business or build it in your painting company, same name? So Russ, you could probably run a DBA. How did you set it up, Kevin?
I opened up a new business name. It's like $50 to open a new name here in New Jersey, and I just kept everything separate. But that was more for tax purposes. It's kind of like, kind of up to you guys. Another thing I know when it comes to the logistics of setting up the business is the insurance policy doesn't always transfer over. So
Right. Okay. So that would probably be the way I would go as well. I'd probably open its own company so that they're not getting billed as Foothills Painting or, something weird like that. So I think the easiest route to go is just the exact same thing you do with your painting business. Now do with a lighting business. It's a transition, given his numbers. It doesn't sound like it would be hard at all to bring in like 5,000 to 10,000 in profit. I know my buddy in their first year, they did it really, really light and they made 10 grand in profit in their first year doing it. And they're in a pretty small area. Actually, we're up in Fort Collins where there's only about 200,000 people. So let's move on to the next section here. So basically, there's lots of ways to market this and get customers.
Yeah, without a doubt. Okay, so the second step that I laid out for you guys today is transitioning your team. So it is really simple. The image, a little bit of comedy there, but it is really, really simple. So when I laid out the second step for you guys, what I thought about is if I was going to train somebody to do this, and just lay it out like really, really simple for them. So there's a couple things that you need to do, like 3 groups of things. You need to stock your van or your work vehicles, and there's a list of things there. I'm not going to read through them right now because you guys are going to get this webinar. And I'm also going to show you like a couple clips from the course that I've created in the next couple slides, and that'll be one of them. So you're going to get that slide. So pretty much stock your van, create some paperwork like sales scripts like Eric has in his course, professional proposals. I think that is a huge thing, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in the following slides also. But I think that the way that I sell holiday lighting jobs is a little bit different than the way that I sell paint jobs. I don't sell them on the spot, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Eric, you may agree or disagree with me when it comes to that, and there may be a different way to structure that, but the way that I do it that's worked really well for me, I'll show in the next couple of slides. The other paperwork that you would want to create is just a simple, like, standard operating procedure for production. So, pretty much like you do a couple jobs and then you see how they go and like you walk through them in your mind and you type it out for your production manager or for your foreman, whoever's going to be in charge of overseeing the project. So those are like the basic 3 pieces of paperwork that I would recommend creating to get off to like a really flawless start and try to avoid as many issues as you can and like as much of a learning curve as you can. And then you're going to want to educate your team. I had mentioned the associations that I'm a part of earlier in the webinar. A big thing when it comes to actually producing the work, I speak a little bit more about the production side because I had so many years in the field than Eric speaks about because he's much more sales and marketing focused, which is the side of the business that makes a lot of sense. But still, you want to keep your subcontractors and if you hire painters, your painters safe. So safe ladder practices need to be talked about because you're going to be working in the snow and inclement weather conditions. The types of lighting that you're going to use, the different style clips. You'll want to have a meeting at the beginning of the year and also discuss with any of your management team the types of jobs that you're going to be capable of and jobs that might be unsafe. I've spoke with a lot of people from tree companies, and these guys actually have like bucket trucks. So they're going to be capable of jobs that maybe a lot of the painters on this webinar today are not capable of. So that's going to be something you want to think about to have like a beginning of the season meeting with your crew. And then the best practices on those job sites. So that might come across as a little unclear, but we'll get into that in the next couple of slides.
Real quick, Kevin.
Sure. Yeah.
This to-do list, can we get this sent? Can you send this to me and send out to everybody, just this checklist?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And also, I'm sure you're probably going to cover it. Is all of this covered in your course, like all these little details?
Yeah, I'm gonna send a few of the documents that are in the course out with this, and in the next couple slides here, they're like clipped screenshots showing you guys a couple of these things that we're talking about right here. So yeah, without a doubt, you'll get this checklist along with the other documents that we've already talked about. I think the other one that we talked about so far was like the door-to-door marketing flyer.
And so door-to-door marketing flyer. So we'll make sure, guys, that not only do you get the recording of this, but you also get this kind of checklist here, as well as the door-to-door flyer that they use.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, yeah, so moving on to the next slide here. This is a clip out of the course, and it just lays out all those things that were on this last slide right here, which is to stock your van or your truck, whatever vehicle you have with. These are things that you may already have being a painter, but like I would stock up on these things at the beginning of the year. It's really simple stuff, and I'm not going to like break down every single little item right now, but these are things that if you don't have them and you go out to send your crew out to do the job, you're going to waste hours running back and forth to like whatever, the store, Home Depot, wherever you guys are at, hardware store. So this list, when you get it today, just put it away. If you guys are really going to implement this into your business, this is something you got to stock up on, all this stuff here. Next slide here. This is me, one of the videos that I have in the course. This is just a screenshot out of it, and you guys are most likely familiar with what I'm on there, like a ladder with an extension ladder with a ladder stabilizer. That is another must-have item. If you guys don't have that, get it, because you won't be able to hang lights without it. If your ladder's leaning up against the gutter or up against the roof line, you can't even do the job. You'll show up to your first job and not be able to even do it. So that's another thing to pull out your notepad and take a note of. This is just showing some of the things in the course that are like safe ladder practices. But if you guys, I'm not here to like pitch the course to you guys and say you have to do this or you won't get this information. There's other ways to do it. Like if you join those associations, they're going to teach you about how to do these things safely. I put it together in my course also, but by no means am I the only resource for information out there. I put it together in a nice package, but the way that I learned this information was as being part through my own learning experiences, and then also as being a part of these associations. So that's just one thing. You'll see that we're working, safely with extension poles and like a little different setup on the end there. That's like a tool that we've made that's going to be described in the course also, that helps you to uninstall lights safely around like wires, like you're looking at right here. It's made to like pull clips off in this screenshot, and then to push clips off of the gutter in the other screenshot. So the different types of clips that you're going to need to educate your salespeople and your team on, there's two clips, and I'll break them down just really quick. So make notes of this also. There's this clip right here, which is called a gutter and shingle clip. And the only difference between this one and the next one that I'm going to show you is how they hold the lights. This one, you'll use it every like 5 feet on the gutter, and it holds the lights in like a random fashion. It's a lot easier to install. It's way quicker, and we charge less for it, but it's just one of the things that you're going to want to give to your customer, like as different options, and also stock your van with like both styles of clips. So that's a gutter and shingle clip, and this one is a single use clip. So that is going to hold every single light in the same exact direction, and it takes probably twice as long to install the same amount of lights on a house with this, and double your price. And we'll talk about pricing and as part of step number 3, but basically you're going to double your price when you use these lights because it takes that much longer. And these are the houses you're probably going to take a ride around to at nighttime to get some pictures for your website, because these are the houses, when you do it this way, they look really, really nice and people are really happy with. So that being said, Eric, anything you want any questions coming in or anything like that, or anything you want to ask about that section?
One question. Go ahead and mute yours, Kevin. We get feedback for some reason when both of us are talking.
Yep, I'm going on mute.
So one of the questions, which we'll just cover this in pricing, but AJ wanted to know if pricing includes taking it all down at the end of the season, or how do you charge for that?
Okay. Yeah. So the way that we charge for
hold on.
Oh, sorry.
You'll just cover that when you go through pricing, and then also, guys, that little clip thing, I think that's kind of like an example. Like there's a few things you're going to need to know, but Kevin, just for people to have like a reference point, how much, like in the painting course, I have my sections that I teach in Painting Business Pro. I teach people like, here's the things you need to know about painting in order to go out and deliver a good quality paint job. Is it more or less with lighting, would you say, as far as the technical knowledge you need to know?
I'd say that it's, God, I would say that it's less. I would say that it's less. It's definitely less because there's not many things. There's like 7 or 8 things that I have laid out in the course that are like really like things that you definitely need to educate yourself on, and they go both ways. They go for like for the customer and then also for ease of production, because you can sell a lot of lighting jobs pretty easily if you educate yourself on how to do so. But the thing that becomes difficult is to get that 42% profit margin is to produce them. Number one, if you're subcontracting at a fair rate for your subcontractors, so that's more of a pricing issue and a selling issue. But also, these guys aren't going to want to take the work on if they don't know how to do it, and they're like up on the gutter hanging it with like screws, and like they don't know any of the tips of like when you install it this way. So when you go to uninstall, it's easier. And it takes like our uninstalls, we don't use ladders at all, and it takes us like, I mean, for a big house, 2 hours, like a real big house, like most of the time 45 minutes. So I would say there's a lot of ways I could go with that question, but to sum it up, that's like the best that I can answer for you.
Okay, and so go ahead, mute.
Yep.
So just I want to make sure I understand it right. So I think it looks like there's different types of clips, different types of lights, and then there's lights you put on the house, and then there's lights you put on trees or not on the house. Is that? And that it seems like that would be kind of the extent of what you would need to know in order to sell.
Yeah, you need to know that, and then when you go to do your estimate, there's a couple other things you want to lay out, like extension cords, splitters, dusk dawn timers, things like that. It gets it's not real intricate, but like I would say that you'll have like a 5 estimate learning curve, and with the course, hopefully we could cut down on that. And yeah, it's not a ton of stuff to know, but I made a lot of mistakes doing it, and I've learned a lot of lessons along the way, and that's what like gave me the encouragement along with you to develop this course to make it easier on people and just launch them like quick and painless. So
okay, and then the other question, so that's kind of like what you need to know on the selling side of things, and then the only other technical knowledge is like production stuff that can just kind of eat your lunch.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute there, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Yeah. I mean, it's not a hard business to open, and you can make a lot of money because there's a niche. There's a niche where not too many people are doing it yet, and you'll have a huge niche if you stand out in your education, your sales knowledge, and then also your ability to produce quality work for like referrals and your reputation.
Okay, cool. You can move on to the next thing. I just wanted to clarify the technical stuff that people need to learn. Thank you.
Yep. So those of you who are familiar with Eric's course, Painting Business Pro, there's a section of the sales process called question and answer. So the bullet points that are laid out here for you guys today are things that I'll use the same sales process that Eric has for Painting Business Pro for Holiday Lights, client manual, right through to the question and answer, pre-close, all that kind of stuff. If you guys aren't familiar with the course yet, then that might sound a little bit like foreign to you guys, but pretty much if you go to an estimate for the couple guys that mentioned that they haven't started a painting business yet, but they're planning on it. If you guys are going to do Holiday Lights and take this on this winter, when you go to an estimate, pretty much you're going to want to introduce your business, and then you're going to want to ask some questions and get some answers. So when you're doing the estimate and walking around with the customer, you know what they want, and you can write up a proposal for them. And you can also educate them a little bit. These are the topics you're going to want to cover. The clip styles that we just talked about in the previous slides, color recommendations. You might not want to recommend colors, but there's something there that we'll talk about, which there's 2 types of lights when it comes to white lighting. And people often will just say, I want white lights on my house. And if you don't know this, it's a really simple tip, but if you don't know it, you can really mess up. There's cool white lights, which are like a blue tint, like LED headlights that you'll see that like blind you at nighttime sometimes. And then there's the really, really popular ones, which are called warm white lighting. So on your notepad, take a note of that. Warm white lighting is the popular one. It's got like a yellow tint, and the cool white is like the blue tint. That's what we mean by color recommendations. You want to educate your customer on those kind of things. So because you they're both called white. You could really easily mess up there and give people something that they're not really looking for or not quite happy with. You're going to want to also discuss design plan versus budget, which that's pretty straightforward. The size of lights, there's different recommendations for like the purpose behind the size of the lighting. Scheduling demands as far as like when they want the work done, when you can do it. Electrical capacity of the home for safety issues, and then who keeps the lights. That's a big issue sometimes. The way that we have our business set up is that our customers purchase the lights and they also store them, because we don't want to, we try to like be as hands-free as we can in management of this business. We subcontract the work and write up really detailed estimates that translate right into production, and that's what I was talking about a little bit, Eric. I'll show you what we're talking about in the next couple slides here. Usually you'll sell an estimate and then turn it over to the production manager and he'll write up a job folder. We do that like all in one, and it's proved to be a good selling tool for us also, because we come off way more professional, and there's no lost expectations about where lights are going with the customer or with when it moves over to production. So that's a little differentiation. The house that you guys are seeing here is actually a house that we did. So it was wrapped like a present, and it was like a custom job. I think this was like a $1,400 job. We put Santa Claus up on the roof, and like at nighttime, all of this was outlined. It looked like a present wrapped. And so that's just some of the neat stuff that you'll get into, opportunities that you'll have. And even in a small apartment complex like that, we were able to land like a pretty big job for a guy that was interested in it. So that's what the Q&A other decor is talking about, like something like that. So let me move on here to the next slide. So I'm not going to go into great detail. This is another clip from the course that I'll send to you guys. These are like 7 or 8 things for lighting recommendations and the reasons behind it. We covered like the warm white and cool white lighting. Let me see if I can zoom here real quick for you guys. So this is, I had mentioned like bulb size. So from the right to the left, you have like C9, C6, C5, C3. They all just jump down in size. My personal recommendations when I'm selling a job, I'll say something like this. So you guys live pretty far back off the road here. So what I would recommend for you guys is to use some larger lights. And another benefit of like the C9 large lights for you guys is that we can actually use like single clips, and they'll be all lined up the same way. Is that something that you guys are interested in getting a price for? And then I'll create like a couple different options. And that's moves into like the Q&A budget and versus the plan also. So I hope that's clear to you guys, but that's like, those are like, when I ask what size bulb the customers want, that's like my little pitch that I go through kind of. It's like, as far as like, okay, you guys are either close to the road or you're far from the road. You're doing these lights for your neighbors also, right? Other people want to drive by and enjoy them, not just you. Yes? Okay. So I'm just asking a lot of questions and like informing them of what I would do or what I would recommend. So let me see if I can get back out a little bit here. Yep, there we go. All right, so I'll send you guys this also. So there's like 3 documents so far along with the checklist. And I'll just keep track of those. Eric had mentioned in one of the questions that he asked me here, something that we'll cover, number 6, and then we'll move on to the next slide here. So lighting for bushes. One thing that I tried to do my first season was just use string lighting for bushes, and it was like really difficult, and I used a ton of lights, and it looked like crap. So just simply put, these are the right tool for the job. So when you're writing up a shopping list for your customer or for your production manager or however you're going to delegate the shopping task, because I don't do any of that myself, and our sales manager doesn't do any of that himself. We don't, like I said, we don't store lights, so our customers buy them, they store them, and they purchase them. You have to write up a shopping list, and this is what you're going to tell them, net lighting. Simply put, the right tool for the job. So let me back out here and move on to the next slide, and we'll cover a few more things. So that was a little bit about like Q&A, and now you move on to some like estimating tips and how to price your work. So the estimating tips, I think that the best thing that I can tell you guys is that we don't do commercial work. We don't do trees that are over 6 feet tall. I have a lot of reasons behind that, mostly with expectations, a little bit of insurance with the trees. But what I would tell you guys is just with these slides from the webinar, take them to heart. Each one of these came as an experience where I said, ooh, I might never want to do that again. That's not where the money's at. That's not where the smooth jobs are at. So I kind of like found my niche for me anyway, with like a painting business, transitioning into a holiday lighting business of what really works and what like plugs in and what's easy. And these are the different things on the left-hand side here that you're seeing that really work. So the reason professional contract is like bolded is we're going to show you what our contracts look like next. I think more importantly, what people are interested about here is how we price our work. Of course, that's the big question, like, well, how, what estimating system do you use, or how much should I be charging? What's fair, what's not fair? When am I ripping myself off or ripping my customer off? So we take the measurements, like linear foot of wherever lights are going to go, and I'll show you a rough sketch on the next slide, but we price between $2 and $4 per linear foot. So the same as the painting estimating system, if there's like a steep roof, elaborate design, difficult ladder setup, the price just bumps up from there. And Eric, you had to ask the question about uninstalling the lights. Right in our contracts, it's made very clear that we charge half the price of what the labor for installation was. So to break that down clear, let's say the job's $1,000, $200 in material, so it's $800 in labor. We charge $400 to uninstall, and that's billed when we uninstall the lights. So I don't know if any questions are coming up or anything. If anything's urgent, Eric, let me know, but I'll keep moving on here. The rest of this stuff is just going to be pictured in our contract. So like shopping time charges, like sometimes I won't lose a job if a customer wants me to do the shopping. If they're like really busy, we deal with a lot of professionals in Princeton, like lawyers, doctors, or business owners. So sometimes they're like, Kevin or Tom, I don't have time to go shopping, man. You guys have to shop for me. So I charge them for that. The rate that we charge is $35 an hour, and we never spend more than an hour shopping. So I won't turn down a job for that, but I try my best to delegate that to the customer or to my foreman or to somebody else, whatever makes sense in your business. So that's how we price our work. I mean, you guys may find little fluctuations that work for you, but that's worked really well for us, and that actually hasn't changed since year one. And I'm able to sell a really large portion of our jobs. I think like 60% when I was selling, and last year I don't have the number. It's in a later slide, so we will cover that. I just don't have it stored up here. So that's estimating tips, pricing your work. The way that I do an estimate, I start out with a rough sketch. I write name, address, any pertinent contact information at the top, and then I put like a little star. It's pretty informal, but this is how I work. And then I speak with the customer, Q&A, and I talk about what they want done. Front roof and gutter line lit in multicolored lights, and they want all the front windows and doors outlined. So it's that simple. I go around with my measuring wheel and I start to take measurements of everywhere that lights are going to be hung, and that's pretty much it. I take this and I turn it into a really professional proposal, and it looks like this. So the first page is all contact information, different options, and then I actually use, like, you guys are probably familiar with paint, and I just color code my options. So I take images, throw them into the estimate, and I color code all my options. So when I sell a job, which, like I said, we sell roughly like 60% of our jobs, it's worth the time for me because it's already turned over to production. The customers know exactly what they chose. There's no questions, and the time that I would have saved by not going back to the office and drafting this estimate this way, like if I would have written up a handwritten proposal with no picture or no clear expectations, I end up losing that money in production. So this has actually worked a little bit opposite of the regular school of thought for me anyway. I make a really clear estimate. As a result, I sell the job. As a result, my customer knows what's going on, and so does my production team. So I'll speed through the rest of these pretty quickly. These are just more pictures of the house with different color-coded options. Trees that they wanted done out front. And this is a real estimate that we had done and sold in Princeton. And then all the price options just broken down. There's a clause. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse or not. I'm hoping that you can. On the right-hand page, about 3/4 of the way down, there's like a warranty clause. I always put in there, like, that $75 fee may apply if we have to return to replace broken lights or something goes wrong. I usually don't end up, using that, but it's a good idea to include something like that. That way, if you have to return, if something goes wrong and you have to like troubleshoot, at least you're able to not sacrifice that 42% margin. So after that, then we just had basically like a signature page to sign off on the agreement and what options were checked off and chosen. As soon as I have that, we sell a job, turn it over to production. It's pretty turnkey from there. An estimate like that takes me roughly, now that I've been doing it for a long time, it used to take me like an hour, and now it takes me probably like 30 minutes or something like that because I'm like pretty good at doing it by now. So it's well worth the hour that it's going to take you guys to do it the first year. Eric, any questions coming in or anything like that before I cover like what they can expect to have this season, or like, you know, what like a good achievable goal would be for these guys?
We're just chatting a little bit, but I don't think we have any specific questions that are coming through, so we can keep moving.
All right, sounds good. So Eric had mentioned a good amount of people that he has talked to that have made between $5,000 and $10,000 in profit. So what that looks like for you guys is that you would need these are conservative numbers, broken down: leads, estimates, sales, average job size. I'll tell you why you can count on these numbers as we go through. So $10,000 profit, you're going to need 70 leads. What that looks like with Home Advisor or Painter Choice is about $700. So that's a relatively small investment. You guys already have all the tools to do this. The systems and the knowledge behind it is pretty easy to acquire. So you probably don't have to invest little, if anything, into tools, and then you have to invest into marketing, but you're going to see a return on that. So 70 leads turns into 50 estimates, and that's if you have a quick, like, as soon as, you know, you got to be right on, you're on call if you're using lead services, and you guys who are using lead services know that. If not, you don't see success. So you got to have your phone, you know, right there to convert that to 50 estimates. 50 estimates to 25 sales. 25 sales at our average job size of $1,000 converts to $25,000 in revenue, and we used a 40% profit margin to get you to 10,000, and that's conservative based off of our numbers. And our numbers are on this next slide here. So this is my personal numbers in my business, and for Home Glow Painting. In 2016, $52,000 in revenue, $21,840 in profit at a 42% profit margin. You guys might look at that and be like, wow, that's like, seems like a lot of leads, seems like a lot of estimates, and he's been doing it for 5 years, and you know, that's why that happened. And I would say that in some respects you're right, but it's really not that hard to do this. If I could do it, anybody can do it. And also, I had mentioned to you guys before, part of the arrival at that profit has been my learning experiences, the part of the country that we live in, that there's low competition, and the competition that is there is like uneducated. So with a little bit of desire and get up and go, anybody can do this. You know, it just takes the right person with the drive to push their business through the winter.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah.
Where do you buy your lights, and do you have a list of brands you stay away from?
You guys will laugh, man, but honestly, where I buy my lights this year and like most years now is Walmart. And I used to buy from a service online called Christmas. Geez, man, it's been a couple of years. I think I could send it to you guys after the webinar. I don't want to give you wrong information, but it's like, I think it's Christmas decor, Christmas home lighting or something like that. I'm really not sure. It's been like years since I bought from them. The place that I find the cheapest, most readily available, and like most stocked shelves for lights, when I go stock up on warm white lights, they're the only lights that I stock up on, by the way, because when it gets like 6 weeks into the season and it's a week before Christmas, all the stores sell out, and I have a stockpile of lights, and I can like still perform jobs that other companies can't, because we have a few competitors in the area, like 2 or 3 other guys that do this. So yeah, pretty much meant to give you guys the honest truth. Like where I go is Walmart. That's where I get my lights from, and it's the easiest and most readily available place to get lights from me.
All right. So another question is, I believe this is Ahmed. Is that you, HK? Question about licensing. I mean, you live in New Jersey. Licensing required for painting. Is there any licensing requirements for Christmas lighting, or what do you know? Or is that something that people are going to have to Google individually?
I think that will vary state by state. I know I had to get an HIC number when I first started to get painting leads like 4 years ago from Home Advisor. So I didn't have to do anything else when I started to get holiday lighting leads. So I really can't give you a good answer there. I think that, you know, Google will tell you that.
And have you ever lost any revenue from people deciding not to have their lights uninstalled?
No, because once I install the lights, I already get paid, and then if they don't want me to uninstall them, then they just stay up. I actually have a lady that yeah, I mean, I had a lady that I did a tree for. It was a giant tree, and this is why I learned not to do trees over 6 feet tall. But anyway, I did a tree really, really cheap, like 45 feet tall, and she left the lights up year after year. So, I mean, it's kind of up to your customer. Some people will do that, maybe. You know, it depends on what they want. So, no other questions, Eric? No. Okay.
Good.
All right, so a couple things about what Christmas lighting can do for you. If you guys haven't already realized what it can do for you, I broke down like 5 or 6 points here, or 6 points that of things that I see that it can do for any painter, landscaper, tree company, any seasonal business. So it can keep your painters or your employees loyal. It can keep you in your customer's mind. What I mean by that, by keeping you in your customer's mind. So in a seasonal business, there's the tendency in the winter to take off and lose touch with customers. Now, in painting, yeah, it might not apply as much as something like landscaping. Landscaping is more of a reoccurring service, but painting only occurs every 7 to 10 years or 3 to 5 years, depending on how many coats. But still, people paint the insides of their houses. People do other different projects that maybe you guys have a different business than me where you don't just paint. So it keeps your business relevant in your customer's mind, and when they do have the need to paint or use one of your services, you're going to be the first one there. So that's another thing that it does. It keeps your sales team, production team, subcontractors, all their skills sharp in the winter. They don't have any time off to get like lackadaisical and sit back and kind of forget like the sales process or to stay sharp on anything. And it also keeps income coming in for all those guys. No unemployment or anything like that. Number 4, it can serve as a bypass to a potential bottleneck in the growth of your business. Simply put, like that sounds like a mouthful, so you should just throw that out. You're going to lose good employees in the winter if they need to go find work somewhere else, or good subcontractors. So this is a way to keep them around, and it's allowed me personally to grow year after year. So that's really helped me out. There's a guy that would have left me otherwise. These guys that around here that subcontract for us, if there's not work and you can't keep work coming in for them, they're on to the next. And the majority of them that I've dealt with, I don't have an issue around here finding good help as far as like actual labor or painters or anything like that, but I do have an issue keeping them going. So this has helped me in the winter. 5, this is personal for me, number 5. So having 5 kids and a wife and a household to support. My wife doesn't work. She basically takes care of our children. It would cost her the same amount of money to send them to daycare. So it's helped me to support my family through the winter and also make Christmas like really enjoyable. I've been able to take winter vacations, see like Broadway shows in New York with my wife. We went on a helicopter tour like 2 years ago. And all that has been a result of like doing a big job and making a killer amount of money, having all my bills paid, and like, being able to do it. And for me, those have been the biggest things that it's done for me, and that's what it can do for you guys too. So let me see what we have next here. Eric, if it's okay with you, man, I think that it would make sense for these guys to take like 2 minutes or so right now and ask themselves these questions and either write down the answers or just think about these 4 checkpoints here. And then we can wrap up the webinar, because that's pretty much a lot of the information that I wanted to share with you guys today. During these 2 minutes that you take to like think through these questions and answer them for yourselves, if anything else pops into your mind that you want to ask, type it into the chat window. But let's take a break for a minute here and come up with put some thought into this and take a chance to ask yourself these questions.
Well, yeah, and I think, guys, what would be valuable while we've got Kevin on here too, and myself, is just what are the things that you're considering, like whether you want to do it or not do it. That's like really the first decision you need to make, is if you want to actually pursue holiday lighting or not. And whatever uncertainties, questions, or concerns that you have, now would be a good time to bring some of those like what ifs and yeah buts, like bring those up now. That'd be a good thing to do now. And then also, guys, I think we'll cover the Q&A here as well. So, while you guys are thinking through that, and just kind of thinking through what your considerations still are, or what else you might want to know, I'm going to start firing some questions off at Kevin. And then go ahead and keep putting the questions in the chat. So Russ asked, do you deliberately market your painting business to people while you're active with your holiday lighting business in the winter, or would that be overkill?
No, that is exactly what I do. That's a good question. I use my same client manual that I use for painting, and I actually insert just like one sheet that I print out to talk about the holiday lighting business. So I actually, yeah, definitely. I wouldn't lose that opportunity for anything because it wouldn't make sense.
All right, great. So the next question is $2 per linear foot versus $4 per linear foot. Is that based on just the steepness of roofs, or like what? How do you determine if it's 250, 350, or 4?
Usually $2 will be like a real basic install for me, like which would be I go to the job, and for doing it for 5 years now, I know from looking at it, it's going to come with a little bit of experience. But I would say that like when I either price at 2, 3, or 4, I don't like start breaking up like by quarters or anything like that.
233.
Right. Yeah. It's either 2, 3, or 4. So like an example of like a 4 would be like a Victorian home, and like where I was at today. I was thinking about that. So it'd be like a Victorian home with like real steep roofs that you can't walk on. So you're gonna have to set something up to get to the peak. And the sides of the house, they're like, up in northern New Jersey. So the sides of the house are sloped off. So you got to like put a brick under the ladder when you're setting it up, something that's going to take a lot longer.
So it's
And
like
then
easy, medium, or hard.
that's it, man. Yeah, and like a $3 per linear foot would be like one of those things. So it's not a Victorian house, and the roofs aren't steep, but the sides are sloped. That would be the difference for me. Like that's how I price.
Okay, what about net pricing on a bush?
Net pricing of a bush. What'd you say, Eric? I'm sorry.
Net price. This is a question. What about net pricing on a bush? Is that $2 per linear foot since it's easy?
No. I just like the way that I'll price bushes is pretty much like I'll price it by man hours. Like the number I always come back to anytime, even when I have like when Tom will call me from an estimate and he's like, Kev, like, man, I really don't know how to price this. This isn't something we've really seen before, and we're going to take it on. I always say, Tom, how long, if you went out to do this job, would it take you and a helper? Price it at $55 an hour for you and a helper each. So $110 an hour for however many hours it's going to take you to do that bush. If it's a half hour, then it's 55 or whatever it would be. So I mean, roughly to give you like, it depends on the size of the bush or like how many bushes, but I would say like for a small bush that you're going to use like two or three pieces of net lighting, like boxes of net lighting, you'd price it like around $100 or $150.
All right, great. Let's see. Ahmed, I wouldn't even. I think that question's no more relevant to ask during Christmas than during painting season. So the question was, is being a Christian something customers look for? I saw some Yelp reviews that people were saying something like, we gave him business because he was a nice Christian. But I think there's probably people who would say that in the painting business too, and they awarded this painter because he's a nice Christian boy or whatever too, or insert whatever religion, or whatever. I liked him because he was short. I don't care, but like people,
Sure.
I wouldn't overthink that, Hamed. Now, a couple other quick questions. Kevin, I'm going to fire some at you for quick answers. Do you purchase lights in advance or after they sign?
Dude, I don't purchase lights. Like pretty much.
So the lights get purchased after a contract is signed.
Yeah.
Does a $2 per foot charge lead up to $1,000 sale? So I guess the question there is, do you ever hang 500 feet of lights?
Yeah, our average job size is $1,000. I mean, you're not only pricing lights in that, you're not only pricing like materials in that, you're pricing like extension cords, any other decorations that are going to be going on. Like we've like lined walkways like with like candy cane lights that the people have already. There's like so much like different stuff you end up getting into. The best answer that I could have there is that our average job size last year was $1,000. Like some are more than that, some are less.
And do you have all these? There's a lot of like little estimating questions, and what about this, and what about that? How do we get to 1,000?
Sure.
Do you have estimating standards for everything? Like for putting a Santa on a roof, for putting this, like, is that all broken down or?
Not really. Like the linear foot, I keep it simple. Like I think the reason I keep it so simple is because I was in the field for so long, where I know how long it would take me and a guy to do the work. So anything that's custom, I charge. All that I can tell you guys to give you like good advice there is charge like whatever you think in hours for one man, $55 an hour. That's like, yeah, maybe a good recommendation here would be, if you guys are in the position like me where you're not actually doing the work, on the first job that you do this season, go out with your crew on a job where they're doing like gutter line lights and like a couple bushes and like putting a Santa up or something like that, and watch them on the first job, make a day of it, and write down how long it takes them to do this stuff. One guy, it takes them to do this stuff. And then you'll have the answer on how to price the rest of your work. Most of our jobs are like gutter and roof line lighting. And other than that, like wrapping windows and doors and stuff like that, we don't get into too much more other than bushes. That one job that I showed you guys was really custom, and that's the way that I priced it.
All right, great. And we'll get into, I have something to add to that question about estimating stuff, guys, in a couple slides here. But is the split 50-50 like Painting Business Pro? Kevin?
Yeah, it is. I do things a little bit differently in our painting business. Even I talked to Ben about this a long time ago, but pretty much like what we do even with our subcontracts in painting is we price at like 42%, and we always leave and we just speak in numbers. I do the same thing in holiday lights, and that way if an issue comes up or if more money is needed, we very rarely, unless we really mess up, go over 50%. So that's how I run my business personally. Like I price my work at 42% actually. So.
Okay, great. And so guys, just no more questions about estimating, because like we could ask him questions like all day, like how do you price a chimney? How do you price a big window? How do you price a small window? How do you price a tree? How do you price a slightly larger tree? What about a really round tree? I mean, we could go on and on with these little estimating questions. So this will be the last one, but how do you charge for trees, Kevin?
Trees, I don't do trees that are over 6 feet tall, so most of the time they're bushes. I would highly recommend against doing trees. Like I get leads from Home Advisor that I don't even call if it's a tree, because I can't like specify which leads I want. I can't like choose to get leads for houses or trees. They don't offer that opportunity. Don't do trees unless you have like a bucket truck. Just don't do them, because you can't. People expect to see the tree that's lit up in the middle of New York City, which takes like so many lights, so much money, and people aren't willing to pay the price. Every time I've done a tree job, I've lost money every single time. So I don't do that anymore.
I can second that. My buddies have been just destroyed by trees.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Okay, so we answered that one. Net pricing on a bush we covered. Does the linear foot charge in your estimating include extension cords? Short answer, I believe, is yes, that your estimating includes all costs, correct?
I think what they were asking, I might be wrong, but I think the way that I heard that question is that they're asking, do you charge for the extension cord? Like, do you measure that out and charge $2 per linear foot for that also? No, I charge just for like lighted length of lights that are going up on the house.
Cool. That was all the bush trimming service jokes are endless. I love it. All right, great. So we covered all the questions that have been asked.
All right.
So let's move on to the next part here, Ken.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so just to give you guys a little background, like I told you, I'm not here to pitch you guys on like a course or anything like that. I'm going to tell you about what I have available, because I've learned a lot of things and I know it can help a lot of people. I'm not looking to become rich off of this course or anything like that. I know that, this is my first year doing the course, and a lot of the things that you guys heard me talk about today, I know that you've heard a few things and you're like, oh man, that's a really good point. Oh man, that's like, pretty solid information there, or like good advice, or that's like a guy who's been doing it for a while. I'd be totally happy, like my goal for this year, I'd be happy with a handful of guys who I can actually really impact and change their lives like Eric has changed mine. So if that's you and you guys are looking to extend your business and you need to for either yourself or your people, then reach out to me. And more specifically, what CHL Team actually is, it's an online program that complements Painting Business Pro. There's 12 videos, 3 audio files that correspond with 3 documents. They like walk you through the documents and how to use them. And then there's 15 more documents that are included, a couple of like the screenshots that you guys saw today that I'm going to send over to you. But I think that's about 10% of the value of the course. For you guys that are members of Painting Business Pro, me and Eric came up with a plan for this season, and it's going to be starting in, I think, November 3rd. I think it's a Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern time. There's going to be the first webinar, and there's going to be 7 training and implementation webinars from that point on every week on Friday at the same time. So what they look like is they break down all of the things in the course in a lot of detail, like how this webinar was today. You can expect a similar layout and a similar conversation, and you'll get live feedback from me also. We'll talk about any issues that are actually currently going on in your business for like the last 15 to 30 minutes of every webinar. So they're probably going to last about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how many questions we have. I think you guys get a pretty clear picture of me, my family, my business, and what kind of guy that I am. But the way that this course actually came to be is that I personally struggled winter after winter in the construction industry, and especially once I opened up my own business, because then I didn't have anyone else to call or anywhere else to look for work. And it started out as a conversation with my father, who has 30 years experience in construction, 15 years or 14 years experience in the casinos in Atlantic City. The only 2 things that he's ever done his whole life. So he knows the industry in this area very well. And he was sitting with me in his garage 5 years ago, and he said, Kevin, I heard of this thing that guys are doing, and one of my buddies used to do it a little bit back in the 90s, and it's, why don't you give it a shot? It's like, go hang lights on Christmas or during Christmas time on people's houses. And I took his word for it, and I didn't have anything to lose, so I tried it, and through the last 5 years, that conversation has led me to where I'm at today, and it's going to lead me to my future also, because this course has this Christmas lighting business idea has led me into growing a bigger painting business also, and I think that's the most power that I've gotten out of it. They complement each other perfectly. Same tools, same people, same skill set, and it extends what used to be a seasonal business into a year-round business. So I think that's everything that I wanted to cover there.
What's on the next slide? Is there something on the next slide? Oh, okay. So guys, listen, one thing is, Kevin and I were talking about doing this for a while. Literally, I think it was actually at the beginning of this year when we first talked about it, because I knew he was doing lighting, and I knew I wanted to, I knew I wanted to help somebody make a Christmas lighting course to teach people, because I think it's a really good opportunity. And honestly, if I want to do Christmas lighting, I want someone to give me a course. I don't want to figure it out on my own, so I want to shortcut all that. But once we decided we were going to do this webinar, I told Kevin, I'm like, we got to give these guys something extra special. What are we going to do? And, I told him, I think he should do webinars with you guys. And so, I don't know how many people are going to sign up and take his course. I don't know how many people will be doing it next year. I don't know if he'll even do personalized webinars next year. But if there was a time to get very personalized coaching and support for launching this business, this is the time. It's his first year, teaching it and training it. So there's going to be some gaps that need to be filled in. That's part of why I told him to do the webinar, so that, I asked that question a couple slides ago. I asked about, estimating for a tree, or estimating for how to put a Santa on a roof. And does he have standards for that? He's going to be working those standards out with you, and making sure to support you in all the little things that come up. So, there's, you guys even know, those of you guys who got Painting Business Pro, even if I give you this bulletproof system, there's still a ton of shit that you're going to run into that you didn't expect to run into. It's going to be the same thing with a business like this. So I think, like he said, the value in the course, I think, is really the webinars and the support system. Obviously, there's a lot of shortcuts in here. So if you are someone who thinks you want to pursue this business, I think I would, this would be probably the best route to go. I don't think there's any question that you'll get your money back pursuing this business if you decide to go forward with it and use the course here. So right here, it looks like Kevin just pulled up kind of the outline for the webinar series. And so these are going to be kind of the topics he's going to go through. But also there's going to be Q&A with every single one of the webinars. I recommended to him that he put together some content specifically. So it's not just a Q&A webinar, but it's there's content prepared as well. So these are some of the topics he's going to be going through. Kevin, is there anything you want to add about those?
Yeah, I think that when we had prepared for the webinar originally, I had a webinar put together that was about like 3 or 4 hours, like really, really long. And then me and Eric revised it a few times and talked about how to get you guys like the best information really quickly to just launch you, and you guys could decide if this was right or not for you guys. Um, a lot of these webinars, man, there's with those videos, documents, audio files in the course, along with these webinars. I know that you guys will hit the numbers that we're talking about. It's almost like no doubt, no doubt about that. The thing that I'm worried about with you guys is I want the people who sign up for this, I want them to be interested in doing this along with all the webinars. I want everybody present so we can get you the most value out of the course as possible. Because without these webinars, without showing up, it can seem from watching a webinar like this that it's very, very simple, and that that I could learn all those little nuances and make those mistakes myself. And yes, you can. But what I would urge you to think about is that if I save you this season from one mistake, you've already made your money back and you haven't had that headache. And that's a huge understatement. I'm going to save you from a ton of mistakes because I've made a ton of mistakes. And my first business card, if we could like flash back in our minds to that, my business name wasn't originally Home Glow. It was me on my own, a one-man band named Mr. Meticulous. And that right there came from like people that know me. I didn't name that. I didn't give myself that name. It's because I'm very meticulous and methodical with everything that I do and everybody that I work with. So I think that that is pretty much all that I want to add to like why it's important that if you sign up for the course and then if we start to do this together, that you attend these webinars, set time aside, even if you're busy on Fridays, you need to be on these webinars because for us together, I don't want failure to be an option for us. It's not an option. So I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover with the webinars, Eric. Let me see if I
The
can
last couple of things. Oh yeah, is there another slide?
Yeah, there's one more slide here for people who are interested
Okay,
in how to
perfect.
register.
That's what I was going to ask. I'm like, where can they go? So I'm going to put it in the chat here, guys. So
Yeah, you have to copy and paste that in there.
Meaning Business Pro. Make sure to sign up there, guys, so that we can make sure that you guys are from this webinar and actually going to get access to all the webinars. Now, what I'm actually kind of curious about, guys, is I'm just curious who. I'm curious where you guys are at. Obviously, those of you who are on this webinar are here because you're interested in this holiday lighting business. Given what we've talked about today, just throw it in the chat. Is this something that you think you definitely want to pursue? You definitely don't want to, or you're just kind of still on the fence. I'm just genuinely curious about that. Al tried to raise his hand, but I don't know what that means, Al. Crickets. 100% on pursuing the business itself. I'm doing it. That's awesome. I'm just excited for you guys, man. I mean, it's like if you can add another $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 to your income in the last 6 weeks of the season that are really slow, like it's a magical thing. Okay, so for the other 12 of you or whatever who haven't responded, here's what I would recommend. Oh, that's great, man. The South Carolina staying busy. That's awesome. So here's what we're going to do. So I also recommended to Kevin that we're gonna close the course. So we're gonna close the course on Friday the 20th. So you basically got this week to figure it out. All right. So you've got to sign up by the 20th. But what we're gonna do is I wanted to make sure that you guys had like all the support and resources you need to figure out if this is for you or not. So what I'd like you guys to do is go ahead. There's gonna be an email that goes out to remind you about this too. But if you want to set up a personal call to talk with Kevin, just about like the program or about the business, he's made himself available this week. He's carved out a bunch of time just to take phone calls from people who would like to talk. So if you're interested in that, send me an email, eric@paintingbusinesspro.com, or you can respond to any of the emails that you received from me and just say, hey, I'd love to talk to Kevin, and I'll get you guys in touch. All right. And then what we'll also do is we'll send out a recording of this webinar along with some of the materials like the launching checklist and the door-to-door flyer, and if there's anything else that Kevin feels is relevant based on what we talked about in this webinar. So before we close this, is there any last questions you guys have? Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys for bearing with the technical problems last week. For those of you guys who made it through today, I appreciate you guys being here. I hope it was valuable, and definitely reach out if you'd like a conversation with me or with Kevin to see if this is right for you. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday and a great week. And I look forward to hearing some success stories from you guys about this.
All right. Thank you, guys. All right. Eric, talk to you later on, man.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.